much of your series and a lot of your topics, they really critique what you call the church system, right? And in your view, what is the biggest difference between biblical discipleship and what most believers experience in the modern church culture?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. So basically, this whole concept of this having a practical discipleship podcast, I was thinking like, man, if I was a young believer, what would I want to know that I didn't know when I started my faith? I started my faith about almost 16 years ago. And a lot of what I went through has been about just being thinking that I'm actually learning the true doctrine, but then find out otherwise that wait a minute, something's off here. And because I would read the word of God. And so when it comes to biblical discipleship and what we see now today in the modern church, it's vastly different. It's vastly different. And I guess the main thing I would say is the biggest problem is that we don't apply what we learn. We don't focus on practical application. And I say that pun intended, because when you go to church these days, when you go to the average church, right? The way it works is you go there and you sit down and you listen to maybe a pastor, listen to some songs. You have a set like structure that's there, and it's really rigid. You really kind of feel that way as well. And let's just say you're a new believer and you're like excited because God has really changed your life, changed your heart, and you're like eager just to learn about God, eager to share what you know, eager to maybe even share testimonies. But what ends up happening for a lot of people, even like myself, is when you stay stuck in the church system, I should say, you end up getting cold. You end up not being able to be as spoken as you are because you have to be restricted to what's the program. Now, when you look in the Bible, though, a lot of it was imitation. A lot of it was Jesus, for example, in the Gospels. He would have his disciples with him and they will go out, and he literally would send them out two by two. He would send out the 72. And in Luke chapter 10, he would tell them specific instructions of what they should do. And he talked to them as if he was already training them. Go out and heal the sick, go out and cleanse the lepers, go out and do this and do that, because they were studying him. They were his disciples. They were following everything that he did. And that really stuck out to me because it's like when you go to the church building, all I see is you go in and you stay there for maybe a good hour, hour and a half. You listen to the pastor preach a sermon, and then you say hi's and goodbyes. And it's like, that's it. But, it's totally different. Especially when you get to the book of Acts, when the actual disciples are actually living the life without Jesus physically there. It still was different. So it's important to understand that we have to be doers of the word and not hearers only. But how can you be a doer if you're not being taught how to do, And so when I started this podcast, my season one especially, I actually wanted to really have a series that actually explained, why do we see church the way we see it? Like, why is it that it is the way it is? Why is it so different than what the Bible teaches? And I discovered something really crazy.
Practical Discipleship Podcast.
Streaming on YouTube and Spotify.